Still in the aviation sector, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has released a preliminary report on its ongoing investigation into the crash landing of an Allied Air Boeing 737-400 freighter at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, which took place on December 11, 2024. The Bureau stated that the plane was scheduled to collect cargo for the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, despite the severity of the incident, all occupants escaped unharmed. The report confirmed that the structural integrity of the cabin and cockpit remained intact. All occupants exited safely through the forward main door without injuries. In response to its findings, the NSIB has issued an immediate safety recommendation. Away from the aviation sector, experts and stakeholders in the field of climate change have gathered in Abuja to discuss strategies to tackling climate challenges across Africa. As climate change continues to adversely impact lives and livelihood, finding sustainable solutions remains a top priority for world leaders. TV360's correspondent Folashade Olusegun gives details in this next report.
Currently, only a handful of African countries, including Nigeria, have enacted laws to address climate change. To help other nations follow suit, the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, in partnership with AGNES Africa, organized a validation workshop for the draft model climate change law. The goal of the workshop was to develop a comprehensive legal framework that other African countries can adopt to combat climate change effectively. At the event, NILDS Director General Abubakar Suleiman, represented by Peter Sian, emphasized the importance of African countries working together as a united bloc to strengthen their bargaining power and influence global climate change negotiations.
African countries continue to lag behind. This is largely because African countries participated at COPs as individual nations, rather than as a united bloc. This fragmentation approach weakens African negotiating power and diminishes its ability to influence critical decisions and resolution arising from these global gatherings.
In her remarks, Director of the United Nations Environment Programme stressed the urgency of the gathering, noting that Africa is lagging behind in meeting its climate change targets. She called for collective action among African nations to tackle the climate crisis.
The promise for us to deal with climate change really lies with the G20, the leading world industrialists, cutting their global emissions. If they don't do it, we are going to continue to suffer in Africa and in the most vulnerable countries. And when we look at their submissions, as my colleagues in the UNFCCC will tell you, we are not on track at all to meet the 1.5 degrees that we agreed upon.
In her contribution, Team lead for the African Group of Negotiations Expert Support expressed hope that the workshop will result in a practical framework that would help African nations implement effective climate policies moving forward.
This retreat brings together legal experts and people from governments who are responsible for climate change matters to look at the possible legal framework that could take into account all the challenges that they are having in drafting their laws. And so we do have a draft model climate change law, which will be able, once the legal experts here have gone through it and agreed upon, then we'll be able to see how to roll out in different countries across Africa.
These consultations that I have referred to must be captured so that it will not be easy to introduce or domesticate some of these laws. Because if you don't have these consultations, then you begin to see some kind of resistance.
The workshop highlighted the collective commitment to addressing climate challenges in Africa, fostering greater cooperation among governments, organizations, and experts across the continent.